Hi, I'm Kelly. As a life coach, I've noticed that the work I do with people isn't about their relationships or their jobs. It isn't about their kids or even how to find a way to get all the laundry done. All the work we do together centers around finding the answer to one simple question. What does it mean to live a fulfilled life? Join me as I explore this question and more in conversation with others in the Fulfilling Life interviews with me, Kelly Dahl, as your host. Hello, it's Kelly, and I'm here today with Becky Swanson to talk about what it means to live a fulfilled life. And I'm thrilled to be talking with Becky because Becky is a dear friend of mine and has been with me along much of this journey of starting my business. And just somebody who's there for me in so many beautiful ways. So Becky, welcome, and I would love for you to start off by sharing a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you yet.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Well, my name's Becky Swanson, and my business name or my website is bloomandshine.com, and I am basically a teacher. I used to teach elementary school, and now, around my hometown, I teach yoga classes and do some retreats. And online, I create and teach courses that kind of blend aspects of yoga with creativity and self-discovery. And I have 3 kids, so being a mom is a huge part of my life right now, too. So that's what I do.
Wonderful. And your programs and your work is really so creative and so in touch with helping people really bloom and shine, which I love that about the name of your website, because it's about opening yourself up so that you can shine and bring that colorful side of yourself out. And you do that so well. So as you know, we're here to talk about what it means to live a fulfilling life, and I'm really excited to hear your take on that. So we'll start with, what does it mean to you, Becky, to live a fulfilled life?
Well, there's lots of ways I think I could answer this. And it's not, I've watched some of your interviews and I always think, oh yeah, you look at other people who seem to have this fulfilled life, and not that you don't think you have a fulfilled life, but you kind of almost feel like, oh yeah, well, I'll have it later, or it'll be then, or when I'm at this certain place. And so when I got to actually think about this, I'm like, well, actually I feel pretty fulfilled. I mean, I have a good life. I'm really grateful. But for me, it is looking at your everyday, like having, making your days mindful and feeling gratitude, because that's kind of what grounds you right in today, and knowing that this is all good. This is a good place to be. When I feel the most fulfilled is when I have a really nice, supportive rhythm to my days and weeks, and when I feel like I'm in the flow, and when I feel like everything's in alignment. And when I say that, I guess I mean everything that how I spend my time, what I put in my body, my schedule, the things that I choose to bring into the home, my clothes, all of those things are in alignment and support me and where I want to be. So that is what I would say. That all of that makes me feel like I'm really living a fulfilled life. And really all that comes down to is just being really conscious, and knowing that I am connected to Source, and I have the ability to create my life. So it's sort of like a little adventure. It's constantly creating and thinking, this feels really good, but maybe it needs to be tweaked a little, or maybe something else needs to be created. So I definitely think it's something that kind of moves, sort of with like we're all very fluid, we're flowing. Things, our lives, our bodies are not just in one place all the time. So I think that's kind of like living a fulfilled life is like that. You can't know rhythm and how the rhythm feels in your life until you don't have that rhythm.
Right.
So we're always kind of, I think, moving in and out of it a little. Like it's always kind of morphing along with us. I hope that made sense.
No, that makes so much sense. And I really, I don't know if I've heard that from somebody else, which makes me like it even more, but that idea that fulfillment isn't static and that it's really as simple as just checking in to where you are and remembering that your life is good, it's inherently good, the world is inherently good, and you are connected to it. And there might be things, like you said, that need tweaking. There might be some discomfort and some lack of ease and some troubles and stumbles and all of those things. But ultimately, in any moment, you can do that. You can take a moment, you can take a breath, you can feel your feet on the ground, and you can know that ultimately things are good.
Right.
But it takes remembering to do that, because that fulfillment that kind of fulfillment is there for us all the time.
Right. It's interesting because years ago, I kind of thought the fulfilling life was sort of like this picture, and it had all these certain things in place. Mm-hmm. And so as these things fell into place, it was like, oh, check, 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 check. And the funny thing about that is when all of that stuff started happening and my life started to look a certain way, I have never felt so lost and unfulfilled in my life. It was like, so this is it? Like, okay, I'm here. Like, it just felt like, oh my gosh, it was awful. Yeah. And now, I think a big thing that helped me too, with how I think right now, is the idea of being responsible for your own life, no matter how it looks. Mm-hmm. So, on any given day, and like this has just been the last few days, I've kind of been in a place of feeling kind of frustrated, looking around and like, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I signed up for. This is not how it's supposed to be. But I can be okay with that and know that, okay, this is yours, and that's okay. And now, what do you need to do to make it different? How can you start to take little tiny steps to just make changes so that it does look the way you want it to look? So, so I think we talked about this earlier before, how I feel like my life has become this little dance of stepping forward or stepping out of my comfort zone, growing, expanding, and then kind of shrinking back. And that's just kind of what I see. It's like when something opens up and things feel so really good and wonderful, and I'm flowing along with it, somehow it starts to kind of pull back a little, or life happens. Kids get sick, your schedule gets thrown off, you drop a few self-care tools, and before you know it, you're depleted. So it's, once again, you have to have that to know, okay, this isn't where I want to be, so let's get back in the flow, let's get back into the rhythm. So it's, for me, it's like a little dance, and it's just, even on the bad days or the days that seem rough, it's just kind of like you were saying, remembering this is actually really good. I have a lot to be grateful here. It's not all the negative stuff that's maybe running through my head. So
yeah, and it's easy to focus on that, but you do have, you mentioned like having kind of ownership over your life, right? That you can go into that negative frame of mind, but you can also choose to bring it back and say, you know what, maybe I'm retreating right now, and that's just what it's going to be, and I'm going to accept that, and I'm going to keep doing what I can to be grateful and know that this is my good life, and that it will change.
Right, and knowing that you're not stuck.
Right.
You're never stuck there. Yeah. You're always moving forward. You're moving through it.
Right.
And,
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about the word flow and the imagery of rivers. And if you think about rivers, they have the raging rapids and they have the narrow parts, and they get clogged by trees and rocks and turn into a trickle, but then maybe a tributary comes in and the river builds up again, and it keeps flowing and changing.
Right.
That's how we go throughout our life, and you're speaking to that so beautifully. So I'm curious too, so thinking more specifically to keep that flow going and to be in a place where you can take a moment to ground yourself and recognize that there are these rhythms of your life. What are some of the things that you do to keep yourself feeling fulfilled?
Okay. Well, I will just admit that I used to live in should land, where I would think, oh, I should be getting up at 5:30 every morning and meditating for 30 minutes, and I should be meditating for 30 minutes before bed, and I should be, this kind of parent. And because I'm a yoga teacher, I should be walking around just always talking really softly and supportive to my children. And finally, I came to my senses and was like, it doesn't work. And it was like taking other people's viewpoints, or I don't even know who, but putting that on top of my life, like this was just the way it had to be. So I just let all of that go, and I still kind of get caught in that sometimes, but I let that go. And like, for instance, the meditating part, I don't even like to use the word meditation, because for me that just feels kind of there's a lot of pressure there. So I have started doing things in just little kind of bursts of time, and even as little as 5 minutes. And I had a little free class back in the summer called 5 Minutes to Feed Your Spirit. And I introduced some simple little things that you can do every day to kind of keep you aware and mindful, or just to bring you back to center, so you're not, your mind kind of isn't running away with you. But so, like, for instance, the meditation part, I just will take 5 minutes, or sometimes it's just standing at my kitchen sink and closing my eyes for a couple of minutes, and I call it centering, getting centered, or just conscious breathing, just doing some breath work. That is really helpful for me. Another thing that I have sort of just started doing that I'm just so tickled with how simple it is using a candle. And we have a class now called Soul Circle that's going on, and we had the ladies get a candle for the duration of this class. And so I have a candle like for the season, and I just keep it. It's nothing fancy. It's right there at my kitchen, the window sill of my kitchen sink. And I will light it up maybe once a day, maybe several times a day, and just something about lighting that candle and holding it there in my hands gives me that moment of awareness. And I close my eyes or not, depending on what's going on, but I take a moment to think about what I'm grateful for. I think of what I am wanting or ready to release and let go of. And then I take a moment and do a little bit of like conscious daydreaming of just what I'm ready to create in my life, or what I'd like more of. And then I just sort of send out like a little blessing to one person or several people, or just whoever comes to mind. And I blow the candle out, and I just watch the smoke go up. And I don't know, it's beautiful to watch because it twists and turns, but I just sort of imagine it as everything I just took the time to think about is just being sent out to those people, or just sent out to wherever, just sort of like going out into the world. And that, I love that. And so for me, that's become a real touchstone. It's like actually something for me to do.
Right.
That creates that it's like a little ritual, I guess. And I'll even do it with my kids. Sometimes we haven't gotten so we do it all the time, but like sometimes I'll put the candle on the table for dinner, and I'll have them say something they're grateful for. Sometimes right before school, if we're actually all ready and we're not running around crazy, I'll light the candle, and we'll kind of do the same thing. I'll say, think of somebody, send a little blessing to somebody, or whatever. I would blow the candle out. And so I'd like to start bringing that in with my kids more. But that's definitely something I do. And
it's so great. It's so simple, but yet it encompasses so many things. And I like even that you said that you do it sometimes with your kids, but you allow yourself to just do it sometimes. Like, it doesn't have to be. I think it's so easy to fall into that trap that we have to do this every day, and we have to always, every night at dinner, we have to say what we're grateful for, we have to do a blessing, or we have to do something. like you said with the word meditation, that it becomes sort of a strict practice that has to be happening a certain way, but just inviting the space for it to flow again in the way that makes sense for you and your family. And that is so simple, and I love that. I'm such a fan of lighting candles too, to kind of shift the mood or just bring a little awareness, but I love that really small but really powerful extra step that you've brought in as well, to just have that symbol as a reminder to do these things that are going to nurture your soul and help you feel better in the moment and notice that you are feeling fulfilled.
Yeah. Back to the meditation thing too, just to add, I remember reading, this has been a couple of years ago, but I remember reading a Byron Katie book, and she talked about, like, when you're laying in bed in the morning and you're kind of like, oh, I really should get up, and you just but you keep laying there and you kind of basically torment yourself because you're like, you just keep saying the should word, like, oh, I really need to get up. Oh my gosh, whatever. And her thing was, let it go, drop it. Whenever you get up is the right time for you to get up. Yeah. So if you lay there for 5 more minutes and you get up, then that was the right time for you to get up. If you lay there and fall back asleep for 30 minutes, then that was the right time for you to get up. And so that's kind of how I looked even at the meditation thing. It's like, maybe later when I'm older, maybe when my kids are out of the house, I don't know, maybe I'll really be ready for this disciplined 30-minute or whatever meditation practice. Mm-hmm. But right now, I'm not. It doesn't even really interest me. And it was such a relief to finally let that go and figure out what works for me. And so that's kind of where a lot of that, I guess, a lot of what I do comes into play now, is just giving myself permission to do it in a way that it feels good. Yeah. And
I love that about you. I love that about your work so much, that it's so real, and it's about really finding what fits with your life and not what fits with somebody else's model, and allowing that space to listen and accept the reality of what life is bringing you right now. So you've alluded to some of the obstacles that get in your way, but could you speak a little bit about that, some of the obstacles that come up that steer you away from noticing the fulfillment that's in your life?
Oh, definitely me. I kind of get in my own way, and just the loop of thoughts, the loop of kind of worrisome, negative thoughts, and that's just not being connected, So if I can catch that, and I can just come back to that, what can I do? Really, what's something simple I can do to shift that? Mm-hmm. And I tend to do a lot of self-coaching. I'm pretty good at kind of analyzing and being really honest with myself. But I'm also very lucky to have a very conscious best friend who we can talk to each other, and she's going to hold that space for me, and not just kind of be like, oh, I know, that's awful, I can't believe that happened, and just fall into my story. She's going to see it as for what it is and say, that's erroneous thinking. So I do have that. Thank goodness. Oh gosh, what else? And typically for me, a lot of times what it comes down to is energy management again, which I'm really getting to learn a lot about. So if I'm tired, haven't got enough rest, haven't been eating the right foods, I try to look at things as energy, and like if you're doing things or putting things in your body or not supporting that energy, if it's actually kind of bringing you down and making you heavy, things are just not going to flow really well. And that's definitely when I can get caught so easily in all of that heaviness and the negativity. So a lot of times that's what gets in my way. Just lack of moving, lack of sleep, all of that type of thing.
Yeah. So when those obstacles do come up and you notice like your energy has been depleted, maybe you're pushing too hard, or just it's the natural rhythm of how you work as a person, what are some of the things that you then do to get you through those rougher patches when you have depleted yourself?
Well, it kind of, again, listening to my body and listening to what I feel like I need.
Yeah.
And it comes, so if I'm like, I did come off of a little event on Sunday and it really surprised me, but I was just totally zapped.
Yeah.
On Monday, and then on Tuesday, and even a little bit into Wednesday. So it was like, where is this coming from? But I just knew, instead of pushing myself to get out and do my exercise or whatever, what I really needed was to rest and to draw back. Yeah. So I would, maybe take a few minutes in the floor and do legs up the wall, where your legs are up the wall, and set my timer and just kind of give myself that time. So I try to listen and gauge, well, what is it I'm really needing here, and try to stay away from that. Is this, like, do I need to get out and exercise, or am I just pushing myself to do it because I think I need to check it off, I need to stick with it. But more or less it comes back to the energy thing again, and if it's something where I just feel really off and I just think, okay, I need to move this energy. So it could be taking a walk, getting outside, maybe dancing, even crying and just releasing that kind of energy. Writing helps me a lot, just to kind of get it out of my head. Yeah. So just any kind of form of, sometimes I need to be around people and sometimes I need to be alone. So really, I guess I don't really have a specific, it's kind of lots of different things.
Right, but the common thread through that is really taking the time to listen to what you need and not trying to push in a direction that doesn't really fit, and recognizing it's okay if you need to rest. There's such a tendency in our culture to push forward always and push forward, and sort of these negative thoughts about rest and going at a slower pace. But what I hear from you is you accept when that is what is needed, and it's okay, and you give yourself that. So you not only listen to it, but you also then deliver it to yourself. And to be open to all the different things that fill you up and can feed you when you need it, because it's always different, right? There's not a direct formula for what you need at any given time.
No, I think it's just because the way my life is set up right now. I mean, when I used to teach school, I was, obviously at school all day, and that took up so much of my, every minute of the day you're thinking, you're watching the kids, there's so many different, you're multitasking like crazy. And so if I worked all day, I don't know, I might have a little more structure to my day, and I might be like, okay, every day after school I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go work out, and then I'm going to come home and fix dinner. I mean, it might be something that happened on a regular basis more, but since my schedule's a little more open, it kind of, that's just where I'm at right now. So.
Yeah. I think as moms too, it can't help but be that way, because there are these people that you're so intimately connected to, and when something is off or on with them, you physically feel it, and you are pulled by, in a beautiful way and a draining way sometimes too, but it's not just your life, which is something that it can be a tough process to sort of reconcile, that your rhythm isn't just your own anymore. But the truth is that it isn't, and those, there's more obstacles in the flow when you have a lot of people in your life who are loving you and depending on you and all of those things.
Right, yes.
Beautifully complicated, right?
That was a big one for me to get used to. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing when they're babies. I don't know, it's so different. I was so but then as they start to become more independent, then it's like this, it's just like, you're trying to, or for me at least, I'm trying to find that way of taking care of me and still taking care of them so that everyone's needs are met.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy, but we kind of have to do it.
You do. You have to do it. And I think, I talk about this a lot in my work, that if we as mothers don't put ourselves into the equation too, then everybody ends up suffering. Even if the children are getting all of this wonderful, wonderful attention, eventually that lack of attention for the mom is going to come out somewhere.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. Well, Becky, you have so much wisdom and so much real, honest goodness to share, and I'm so happy and grateful that you were here to share some on the interview today. Do you have anything that you want to share about some work that's coming up for you, or any last thoughts on living a fulfilled life?
Oh, let's see. I don't really have, I don't think, anything coming up. I mean, we've talked about doing Soul Circle again. I don't know if that's going to happen this fall. We might do like a winter version. Mm-hmm. I'm actually kind of just doing some things more here around my hometown right now, and just taking this fall to sort of be with my family, take care of myself, get kind of rebooted. Mm-hmm. But I guess I would just say to just, take care of yourself and treat yourself almost the way you would treat one of your children. So trying not to kind of beat yourself up, put that pressure on yourself, push yourself to do more, and just to kind of pay attention and listen, to really pay attention and listen to how your body's responding, how you're feeling. Your feelings and your body are just such huge little guides or big guides for you. So yeah, just give yourself what you need and try to do your best to fit it in any way you can, even if it's just tiny little spurts throughout the day. And just know that that's enough for now. That you can, if you want it to look different, you can start to work on that. But for right now, do what you have to do to just sort of start to shift it. Yeah. Just to start to move out of it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful advice. And, I know I'm going to be lighting my candle in that way from now on, and looking at that as a wonderful time to just reflect on all of those things that you just said, what's important, and get grounded in the life that is so fulfilling that I'm living. Thank you so much for being here, Becky. It's been such a pleasure, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you. Bye.